Well, we're speaking here with Sean Kelly, the MEP for Ireland South, and I'm very happy, Sean, that you've agreed to participate in the Politics Talk project. And I suppose I'll just put a number of questions to you, starting most importantly with how you've found the first few months of your new term. I'd very much appreciate if you could outline some of your priorities and how you've been putting yourself about and how you found the experience thus far.
Well, I suppose for me it was a complete change, because I hadn't been involved in politics at all at any level prior to coming here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was basically hitting a blank wall and trying to take in everything together. And it took some time. It's still taking time. I'm still learning.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time I'm enjoying it. I think there's a very good work ethic about here. One of the difficulties I find, and this is probably coming from my teaching background, in teaching everything was structured. You had one meeting or one class and you stuck at that class and then you went on to another class. But here you're popping in and out of meetings. You're always prioritising and you feel that you're missing something. And
Sure.
I think I find that somewhat frustrating. Parliament itself as well, it can be difficult at times to get on the speaking list for various topics. But again, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time you have to learn to live with these things and make the most of them. And I think I'm getting to terms with it now.
Mm-hmm. And do you find that there are several competing interests when it comes to getting your own issues across in the chamber?
Yes, there can be many competing interests because there's so much going on, there's so many different topics at the one time that, for instance, now I'm on the regional committee, I'm on the cultural committee, they can often clash.
Mm-hmm.
So you pop into one, pop out to the other, and you can miss maybe vital aspects. The same, you could agree to do an interview and you might have a speaking time in Parliament. The Parliament run late, all your plans gang off diddly, as the poet said, Robbie Burns long ago.
Sure. And I suppose today, as we're all aware, is the day on which the Lisbon Treaty comes into force. Bearing in mind the reforms introduced by the treaty, do you feel that the increased responsibilities that the Parliament is going to be faced with is something with which the Parliament can cope in terms of increased workload?
Well, if they can't, they've no one to blame on themselves.
Sure.
In the sense that this Lisbon Treaty is in the offing now almost for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been delayed, so there has been plenty of time to do the preparatory work. I think the Parliament is ready, willing and able to take on the increased responsibilities. In actual fact, it gives it more of a say, more power and more of an influence, which it should have had from day one probably, but now it has that under the Lisbon Treaty. And certainly from my point of view, I feel that I have a far greater role to play as an MEP than I would have under the last plenary.
Sure. And then when you turn to, I suppose, the terms of the treaty and the democratising aspects of it, which of the mechanisms which are designed to democratise the union more effectively do you consider to have the most potential for Irish citizens?
Well, I suppose starting with ourselves as MEPs, we now have much greater say, particularly in vital aspects like the budget and CAP. They're vital for Ireland and they have to come before Parliament now in this co-decision. That co-decision is a great move because rather than just expressing an opinion, we now actually have a say. That's very important. The second aspect, which I think is hugely important and will help to democratise the European Union, is the power now given to national parliaments to scrutinise various proposals and to make recommendations. So that's going to involve them far more than in the past. And the third, which is a wonderful mechanism as well, is the fact that citizens now, 1 million citizens, can actually sign a petition, which is not difficult to get with the internet, etc. now, to initiate any piece of legislation they feel that the Commission aren't actually initiating. So those three things are actually bringing the whole European project closer to the citizens, make it more relevant and make it more democratic.
And of these interests that citizens are likely to have, one of the most important from an Irish point of view is CAP. I heard you mention it as an issue, and obviously with the formation of the new Commission, the introduction of the treaty itself, and significant rumours going around that CAP is likely to be targeted as one of the areas that may be cut in a new budget. What do you think is the future of CAP? Is it something that's likely to be threatened, and do Irish citizens have anything to worry about?
Well, I think certainly being realistic, Irish farmers have a lot to worry about at this point in time, because I have been at different meetings here and book groups, etc. And particularly if they aren't aware that you're from an agricultural background, they will say that the CAP needs to be reformed, that funding for this, that or the other thing could be taken from CAP. Only last week I was at a meeting where we were discussing transport and they were talking about getting more funding for rural transport and take it off the CAP. So yeah, there is a big battle to be fought. Certainly I'd be very committed to CAP, and I'd also be very committed to the family farm. And I think if the family farm goes, then they won't have to be worrying too much about rural transport or anything else, because there'll be nobody living in the farms, and they are our primary producers. Going back to time immemorial, man was a farmer, woman was a farmer, going back before any industries were developed. It's the primary industry, and particularly from an Irish perspective, it's a very good green industry, and we must preserve that, and particularly preserve the family farm.
Well, Sean, thank you very much for speaking to us and for outlining how you're going to represent Irish interests. I wish you best of luck for the remainder of your term. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, thank you.